Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brain Junkie here, and today we'll be talking about a fantasy film called Upon the Magic Roads. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. Somewhere in the outskirts of Russia, a blinding light is traversing across the lands, eventually revealing itself to be a magical horse that's completely destroying the farm fields. When the sun rises the next day, the farmer rushes towards the crops immediately alongside his sons, and they're devastated by the damage that they see in front of them. The father demands that they stand guard for the upcoming night, but the brothers quickly allocate this duty solely towards their youngest sibling Ivan. With no other choice, the man prepares for the troublemaker as the night approaches closer and decides to capture the culprit to win his father's approval. Very soon, Ivan begins hearing the sound of a horse approaching from afar and immediately gets ready to defend his father's farm. However, when the man turns around, he's shocked to see a gigantic animal that's standing right behind him. He tries to capture the creature right away and throws the ropes towards the giant horse, but regrets his actions immediately as the strings are pulled away rapidly. Ivan tries desperately to stop the animal, but gets tossed in the air and pulled across the farm by the enormous creature. The magical horse continues to charge forwards and breaks apart the nearby building as it drags the main character around like a ragdoll, but Ivan refuses to give up no matter what. Very soon, the animal begins leaping into the air as it forces the man to fly off at the same time, while pulling him across the sky like the Russian version of Santa Claus. Ivan becomes amazed by the incredible view that's beyond the clouds, but his fun is soon ended when the creature rushes towards the ground and sends him crashing into the fields. When the man slowly regains consciousness from the terrible fall, he realizes that the giant horse has fallen into a swamp and rushes forwards to help immediately. Ivan pulls onto the creature with all his might, but fails to save the animal no matter how hard he tries. Luckily, the man finally decides to use his leftover brain cells and plans to rescue the horse by using the water wheel that's close by. He ties the string onto the machine and the wheel begins to slowly pull out the massive creature, eventually allowing the horse to return on land once more. Ivan rushes towards the animal that's obviously too tired to move, and the man is surprised to see a drop of tear forming on the creature's eye as it realizes that it's captured. The man quickly has a change of heart and makes the animal promise to never trample over his farm in the future, before eventually taking off the rope and setting the creature free. The magical horse glows in brightness as it celebrates its freedom once more, before rushing onto the fields and disappearing into the sky. Ivan watches the creature in happiness, but quickly realizes that his father's farm is now even worse than before. The next day, when the morning finally arrives, the main character wakes up from his slumber, only to see a pair of beautiful horses inside the barn. Suddenly, he begins hearing a strange voice, and notices a pair of horns coming out from the shadows, who tells the man to put down his weapon before he hurts himself. The farmer refuses to yield, causing the creature to kick the man into the air and knocking him out in the process. When the man finally wakes up after losing the remainders of his brain cells, Ivan is greeted by a pair of huge nostrils, which belongs to a small horse that's capable of talking. It turns out that the animals were sent by the magical creature that was set free by the main character last night, so that he can be guided for the important journeys ahead. Their conversation is quickly interrupted by Ivan's father, who's furious after finding out that the farm is completely destroyed. The man realizes that he's in serious trouble and tries to run away immediately, but is surprised when the miniature horse offers to give him a ride and tells him to grab on for his life. The creature rushes off like the Flash while zipping across the fields in blinding speed, and manages to bring the man away from the area in no time. Ivan is shocked by how fast the animal can run, but the horse tells him that it was only a warm-up. However, the man quickly realizes that they forgot about the other stallions and wants the creature to bring him back, but the magical animal has a way better idea. The tiny horse begins to whistle towards the farm, while causing a shockwave that travels all the way back to the building and making the animals run away from the farmers. They're eventually able to obtain the horses once again and begins heading towards the city right away. day, Ivan arrives into the marketplace where he plans to sell the animals to repair his father's farm and quickly catches the attention of all the merchants immediately. The magical creature sees this and tells the man to stop right away as he's drawing too much attention towards himself. The foe suggests that they sell the animals to the poor merchants on the outskirts as he'll get more money this way than trading with someone that's wealthy. The man refuses to take the advice and desires to sell the animals to the richest person in the city, who's obviously the king. What he doesn't realize is that the emperor is basically an overgrown infant who keeps on having tantrums and mistreating everyone around him. The old man eventually makes it out towards the balcony and sees the beautiful animals that Ivan has, which he wants to have immediately for himself. While the main character is still trying to bargain for a better deal, he quickly sees that the crowd has become quiet and realizes immediately that the king has appeared behind him. The old man makes up the excuse that Ivan must have stolen the horses as they're too expensive for a peasant to own, and orders the soldiers to take away the animals immediately. Ivan is shocked by what just happened as the foe's prophecy has come true and he just gave away the horses to the richest man for free. The main character is forced to stare hopelessly as the king is carried away by the soldiers, and Ivan apologizes to his friend for not listening to the creature's wisdom. Luckily, the magical animal still has a backup plan as he begins to whistle just like before and causing the horses to rush out immediately while the king chases closely behind. The old man tells the minions to pull him towards the animals, but ends up rushing towards a pile of flowers on the ground while he tries desperately to evade the crash. The king is thrown into the air, which forces him to walk around on the vehicle's handle like he's part of a circus, but eventually loses control and crashes down towards the powders. Ivan is able to get back his horses while all the people gather to see the commotion, and the soldiers are slowly able to pull out their king, who's essentially turned into a clown. The king demands to execute the farmer right away, but is quickly advised to stop by his generals, as Ivan has the favor of the crowds and he didn't break any laws. The old man decides to trick Ivan once again and offers to make him a groomer for the animals of the kingdom instead of paying him. Surprisingly, Ivan agrees right away, causing the foe to warn his friend, but ends up catching the people's attention instead, which forces him to honk like a donkey to avoid any suspicion. The king brings the man into his castle and gives him the new position, but the peace between them did not last very long. Later that night, the old man begins to have a terrible nightmare where he sees Ivan dancing towards him as the crowd cheers for the man's name. The executioner brings the king towards the tree stump and chops off the old man's head, causing him to scream for his life and waking up everyone inside the castle. The next day, the king begins to spy on the main character and becomes frustrated by the man's good nature that everyone seems to like. He needs a valid reason to execute the farmer, and his general advises him to send the man onto an impossible mission, which allows the king to kill Ivan for eventually failing. Surprisingly, the main character agrees immediately to the mission, and he tells his friend right away as he prepares to set off on the adventure. The animal thinks that Ivan is crazy for taking on this task as it requires the man to find the legendary firebird, but anyone who tried has died a horrible death. However, the man decides to continue onto the journey despite the warnings as they eventually make it into a mysterious forest. The horse tells the farmer that the firebird likes to eat a special kind of nut which only grows on the plants around here. Ivan is eventually able to find the magical items on top of a giant tree where all the animals who consume the nuts are sleeping. It turns out that the food is actually a very strong sedative that's capable of knocking out any creature in a matter of seconds, and they plan to use this to capture the firebird. They go towards the desert where the legendary creature resides and waits patiently until nightfall before making their move. The main character grabs onto the nuts inside the bag and throws them towards the clearings while spreading the food everywhere on the ground. Very soon, they notice that something is approaching from underground and covering the entire area with bright light. Suddenly, a fireball jumps out into the air and the people watch in amazement as they see the magical creature that's covered in flames. The firebird quickly notices the nuts on the ground and begins eating them like it's having a buffet, and the horse thinks that the creature should fall asleep very soon. Just like they predicted, the phoenix begins to wobble as it continues to consume all the food, eventually causing causing it to fall down as it appears to be knocked out for good. Ivan sees this and quickly tells his friend the good news, but the lights around them begins to get brighter as a claw slowly grabs onto the nuts in their bag. It turns out that the firebird has a tolerance for the tranquilizers, and the man screams in fear before running away from the area while angering the phoenix at the same time. Luckily, the horse is able to tackle the creature away and saving Ivan in the process, but also angering the firebird even more. The phoenix gets up right away and flies towards the foe like an angry fried chicken while trapping the animal under the signs. Before the enemy can finish the kill, Ivan shows up to rescue his friend, but the phoenix is able to overpower the man very quickly and causing him to run away as well. However, this gives the horse a chance to escape as he tries diving inside the sand, but the phoenix is able to catch up very quickly and capturing the animal right away. Luckily, the firebird is quickly distracted by the nuts as it pushes the horse into the hills below. The creature then approaches closer to eat the food, but the item is quickly stolen from underneath its mouth and causing it to scream in anger. The entire area begins to burn as all the trees are turned into dust while the people try desperately to run for their lives. However, they're eventually cornered by the flying creature as Ivan is forced to hand out his only nut while the phoenix grabs onto the food and swallows it in a single bite. Surprisingly, this causes the firebird to fall into the water like a dead fish, while the people are shocked that they actually managed to capture the legendary creature. The next morning, Ivan has managed to tie up the phoenix, but quickly notices that the bird is not glowing anymore. The man watches closely as the creature begins to cry and slowly curls up into a ball from its lack of freedom. Fearing that the phoenix may die, Ivan decides to free the creature immediately as he pulls away the net, causing the firebird to glow once again. The magical beast eventually flies into the sky while Ivan watches in happiness and realizes that he did the right thing. Before the phoenix disappears, the creature drops a single piece of feather towards the man as a way of thanking Ivan for returning its freedom. However, the horse realizes that they shouldn't return to the king anymore as they'll be killed for failing the mission, but Ivan thinks that the feather is enough to prove their success. They return back to the city and Ivan is taken as a prisoner right away as he just gave the king the perfect reason to execute him. The main character tries to tell the people about what actually happened, but no one believes the crazy story that he's telling. With no other choice, Ivan takes out the feather to prove his innocence, but only manages to get ridiculed even more as the item is no longer in flames. They take the man to be executed immediately as the foe tries to save his friend by force, but they quickly realize that something is approaching as the feather is glowing once again. It turns out that the firebird has decided to return after hearing the man's call, and they're shocked to see that the creature only responds to Ivan, believing that it's a miracle. The phoenix begins to glow even brighter, causing all the people to chant for the man's name, and the king has no choice but to spare Ivan's life once again. Things only gets worse for the old man as the main character is able to control the creature at will and changing the time of the day as the man pleases. Just when the king is becoming hopeless, the general begins advising him once again, suggesting that he should get married immediately to the princess inside the Sky Palace. This allows the old man to give Ivan a second impossible task and assures that the main character will be executed for failing the mission. Surprisingly, the farmer accepts the order once again, and even his animal friend is amazed by the man's foolishness. They head towards the icy mountains right away, and the people begin to climb towards the peak, while the horse tries to tell his friend to turn back. Ivan refuses to listen to the animal's wisdom and eventually makes it towards the top, where he sees a large entrance that's made from ice. The man tries to enter the gates immediately, but is quickly knocked away by the invisible energy that prevents him from going any further. Luckily, the horse is able to get a brilliant idea and decides to use the firebird's feather to counter the magic. The flaming item flies into the wall and turns all the ice into water, but also flooding away the animal at the same time. The horse begins dropping down the mountain and sliding across the hills, but the animal is able to survive the fall by essentially turning into a snowball. At the same time, Ivan has made it inside the magical castle, but quickly sees countless women sleeping on the icy beds. The man obviously lacks the IQ to figure out which is the real princess, but luckily, the flaming feather is able to break through the illusion and force the woman to wake up. Ivan goes to greet the princess right away, but the woman is disappointed that her rescuer is only a peasant, and she's unhappy that the king didn't send someone that's more important. This causes the woman to rush towards the entrance right away, while Ivan chases closely behind, and they eventually arrive onto the large cliff where the princess plans to jump off. She tells Ivan that she has decided to never get married, as all the kings are cowards for not coming here themselves. The princess jumps off the cliff immediately, while Ivan decides to follow behind as well, and the man is eventually able to find the girl who's using her skirt like a parachute. However, Ivan fails to grab onto the woman due to his butter fingers and ends up falling down as a result, forcing the princess to be the hero as she launches down to save his life. The woman manages to catch the man in midair while Ivan thanks the princess for rescuing him, but things quickly go wrong as the main character accidentally broke through her skirt. This causes them to fall down once again as the woman loses her dress completely, but they're quickly spotted by the horse, who jumps towards them as well. Surprisingly, the animal was able to grow wings and manages to catch the people in the last moment. The main character thanks the creature continuously, but the flying horse tells the man to hold on to the princess as the woman has passed out from the fall. They bring the girl into the sky as they soar through the clouds, and Ivan begins to notice how beautiful the princess is as he slowly falls in love. The flying creature sees this and warns the man to not be a simp as the woman is meant to marry the king. They eventually make it back into the city and all the people are amazed by the beauty of the girl, but the king is terribly disappointed as he has to spare Ivan once again. What's even worse, the old man begins to feel that he's losing his kingdom as all his people are loving the farmer more than the king himself. The emperor is forced to give Ivan a hefty reward, but the man seems to be unhappy despite how wealthy he has become, as the only person he can think about is the beautiful princess. He decides to go visit the girl later that night and climbs onto her massive windows, while the woman is finally able to see a familiar face. The princess opens the gates for the man, and Ivan surprises her by giving her the flowers that he picked, while making the woman slowly fall in love as well. However, their flirting is quickly interrupted, causing the girl to push Ivan through the window, which definitely would have killed him if this wasn't a fairy tale story. Suddenly, the doors are opened by a man who looks like the Walmart version of Jack Sparrow, and he's here to help the princess get ready to finally meet the king. After looking through all the clothings that are here, the woman is terribly disappointed by the lack of fashion and decides to do some cosplaying by using the man's costume instead. She goes into the dining room while dressing like a pirate, but soon realizes in shock that the king is old enough to be her father. She pretends to be happy on the surface, but quickly begins making excuses for delaying the wedding, claiming that it's her family tradition to use her grandmother's ring for the event. Unfortunately, the mysterious item has been lost forever, and she has no idea how to get it back. To her surprise, Ivan quickly runs into the room and offers to look for the ring immediately as he completely destroys the woman's plan. The magical animal has also received the news about their mission, but this time he has no clue as to where they should go. The creature begins asking the stars for help, and surprisingly, he's able to receive an answer that came from the spirit of the wind. The animal sees the shadow of a whale flying across the sky, while the wind begins to tell him that the ring is inside the enormous creature. The horse begs the entity to show him the way, resulting in the clouds to separate, which leads him directly towards the ocean where the creature resides. The next morning, the flying horse takes the main character towards the whale's location as they soar across the sky. Before they can find the enormous animal, the man crashes into a bunch of seagulls, causing him to fall towards the ocean and drop into the water. Luckily, the man is unharmed, but he quickly sees something strange as countless chains are tied onto what appears to be a massive island. Ivan manages to swim towards the surface, but soon notices that something is coming their way as a gigantic wave is rushing towards them very rapidly. The flying horse realizes that danger is approaching and grabs onto Ivan immediately. The creature uses all his energy to escape while carrying his friend and heading towards the massive island, which turns out to be the giant whale. They make it towards a landing nearby, and Ivan notices that the creature is continuously trying to talk to them. Luckily, the horse is able to translate the animal's language and begins explaining to Ivan why the creature is in chains. It turns out that the animal accidentally swallowed a bunch of sailors, and the people decided to punish the creature by trapping it here. The whale desperately wants to release the humans, but it doesn't know how to free itself from the restraints and begins crying in front of the main character. Surprisingly, Ivan manages to conjure up a plan and decides to make the giant creature sneeze as he tells the flying horse to head towards the animal's nostrils. They rush towards the massive hole and enters into the whale's body, where the entire place is glowing like the stars. Ivan tells his friend to use the wings to tickle the creature, and the flying animal begins scratching inside the whale's nose. This causes the giant creature to slowly stand up and breaking all the chains that are tying down its body as the animal prepares to have the most dramatic sneeze of its life. Very soon, the water begins charging towards the main character as they try desperately to escape the area, and the whale manages to spit out all the liquids like a fountain. The people are able to fly out from the giant creature as all the chains are broken into pieces and freeing the massive animal at the same time. The whale eventually crashes down into the ocean and releasing all the ships that were trapped inside as all the people celebrate for their freedom. The flying animal is surprised that the plan actually worked as Ivan looks at the ocean in happiness. While the sun finally begins to set, Ivan quickly realizes that he completely forgot about the ring as he watches the whale disappear into the horizons. Luckily, the enormous creature decided to thank the main character by giving him a gift, and they're shocked to see that it's actually the ring that they were looking for. However, Ivan has trouble deciding on what to do next as he doesn't want to see the princess marry the king. When Ivan eventually gets back to the city, he decides to visit the princess once again as he secretly climbs towards the large windows. What he doesn't realize is that the king's advisor has spotted him using a telescope and plans to ambush him right away. Ivan is able to make it inside the chamber, and the woman is very happy that he decided to come here first, while the guards are surrounding the entire area to capture the man. Ivan gives the ring to the beautiful princess and tells the woman about his love for her, but they're quickly interrupted as the guards are able to break through the door. The commotion eventually wakes up the king as he quickly takes the gun and goes towards the windows, only to see a flying animal beside the woman's chamber. He fires the weapon towards the horse, hitting the creature right in the back and causing the animal to fall down as Ivan is being captured by all the guards. The main character is locked away immediately, which causes him to lose all his wealth, but the man only cares about his beloved princess. At the same time, the woman begins hearing a knocking from the outside and is surprised to find a chicklet in front of her door who wants her to follow immediately. She secretly goes alongside the small animal and eventually finds the miniature horse who was able to survive the attack. The woman tells the creature that things are very bad for Ivan as she tried to save him by tricking the old man, but only resulted in making things even worse. It turns out that she managed to convince the king that there is a way to become younger, and she wants him to go through the ritual for their future happiness. The princess told the old man that he must go inside 2 containers of boiling liquids and 1 container of freezing water, as she wanted to trick the king into killing himself. However, her plan did not work, as the advisor tells the old man to use Ivan to test out the ritual, as the man is to be executed anyways. Realizing that her lover will die a horrible death, she tells the horse that they have to add in the right ingredients for the ritual to work. This includes her grandmother's ring and the firebird's feather, but they're still missing the flower of life, which only grows on the edge of the world. The horse promises to get the item before noon, but the mission is made very difficult after his wing has been shot by the king, which forces the creature to run instead. The next day, the crowd gathers to see the execution as 3 giant containers are brought out towards the people. The king arrives onto the platform alongside the princess, and the guards bring Ivan towards the boiling liquids for his execution. The old man tells the people that he's willing to forgive the prisoner if Ivan's somehow able to survive the ritual. The main character realizes that he's going to die and decides to tell everyone that he's guilty of loving the princess as he confesses all his feelings towards her for the last time. This angers the king even more as the old man takes Ivan and pushes him into the first container that's filled with boiling water. The princess throws her ring towards the liquids immediately, which causes the man to fly out into the air and drop down towards the second container that's filled by freezing water. Luckily, the firebird is able to command his feather and throws the item into the liquids, which causes the man to fly out once more. Ivan eventually drops into the final container, while the princess prays that the horse is able to make it on time. On the other side, the animal is running as quickly as he can, eventually heading towards towards a single point where he enters into a place that's filled by darkness. The animal slowly regains consciousness and sees the flower of life, who tells the creature that in order to pick up the plant, one has to die in the process. However, the animal ignores the warning and picks up the flower immediately. At the same time, a small dandelion begins to fall towards the ground and eventually ends up inside the boiling liquids, which lights up the entire sky. Everyone looks in shock as Ivan begins to levitate into the air like a deity, while all the people are cheering his name. The princess looks at the man in disbelief as Ivan slowly flies towards her, and they're finally together once again. Seeing that the ritual actually works, the king jumps inside the liquid as well, not realizing that he's making a big mistake. Very soon, a giant bubble rises into the air while trapping the old man inside, eventually lifting the king into the atmosphere as he shouts continuously in anger. The people laugh hysterically at the old man and all decide to vote Ivan as their new king while cheering at the main character's name continuously. Ivan has a hard time believing what's happening as he looks lovingly towards the queen, but soon realizes that his best friend is still missing. Meanwhile, the magical animal is lying inside the grass fields as he prepares to die peacefully, but finds it very difficult as a fly simply would not let him rest. Ivan is eventually able to find his best friend, who's trying desperately to kill the insect, and the creature tells Ivan that he's about to die very soon. This causes the man to embrace the animal immediately as he doesn't want to let his friend go, but the princess quickly explains that all this is simply a lie. It turns out that the flower tells this to everyone who tries to pick it, and only killing the ones that lack the courage to finish what they started. Realizing that he'll live once again, they finally join the celebration alongside all the people as they welcome the ascension of their new king. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.